Hi, parenting with Winnie friends. I want to say happy Sunday today. I missed you all, and I'm so glad to be here. What if I told you today that parenting is compared to having a colonial master always controlling a president of a poor country? Think of your child as a president of a poor country, and see yourself, a parent, as as a colonial master. You, as a parent, you have all the resources. But this little president, by the way, they're not children. I was actually reading something that told me that from 13, they are young adults. Stop parenting and start training them. And so let us go back to my illustration. You have a colonial master up here, and you have a poor president here that is trying to run his life. His life is made up of different states or provinces or districts. I'm going to use an example of my districts from my country. My country has 30 districts. So the 30 districts in my child's life should be food, fun, money, friends. You can add everything. So those are the districts. This child is trying to manage. And he doesn't have anything. He's doing everything under your house. He wants your fuel. He wants you to buy him a car, to buy him a phone, buy him internet, buy him this, but he wants the autonomy. Like, how crazy is that? I saw a book that is called, let me find it. It's called Feeding a Mouth That Bites You. To me, that is parenting explained in one sentence. When we are parenting, sometimes it feels like we are feeding a hand that bites us. And if you're a mother, you know that yes. Sometimes you're feeding your infant and they're biting you. When they become adults, they'll bite you in different ways. When they become teenagers, they'll bite you in different ways. When they become adults, they're going to bite you in different ways. And so, yes, sometimes parenting gets really bitter. Sometimes it gets really heartbreaking. Today, I want to say that one of the problems that make parenting really hard is one word: autonomy. The little president of his country wants to control his country. You, who is giving him everything, wants to control the way things are being done. And therefore, there is a clash between you two. Autonomy is okay. Autonomy is good because it teaches a child to be authentic. It teaches them self-respect. It teaches them control of choices. It teaches them values and systems. So it's good to have autonomy over your life. But how can you let them be independent under your house? Actually, during a session, we were asked that when do we want our children to be independent? And in my heart, I didn't say it, but I was like, not under my roof. Probably you feel the same. However, let us look at it this way. Have you seen how children become 18 and they just want to run away the next day? Have you asked yourself why? What can they do at 18? We have crazy adverts out there that say you cannot buy alcohol until you're 18. And these children feel like, yeah, I have to become 18 and buy alcohol. Apart from buying alcohol and tobacco, tell me what they can do at 18. They don't have a job. They're still in college. They're still struggling. They're still depending on you. But they are dying to move out just because of autonomy. They want to run their poor nation their way without the superior on top controlling them, always saying, I gave you money for school, you used it for alcohol. I gave you this, you used it for this. I gave you this, you gave you this. So we are not going to kill autonomy. What we're going to do is this. It's just like a few tips. Definitely, it's a big topic that I cannot finish here. But these are the few tips to grow their autonomy while they're still inside our houses, and also uh, helping us to calm down, not to always follow them up. So I learned something called um, empowerment, but it was called, is it strategic empowerment? It's like you help your child to be empowered while they still live planned empowerment. Sorry, it's called planned empowerment. So you help your child to become empowered while they still live with you from when they're little, when they're toddlers, when they start telling us, I can do it by myself. You've seen them. They can't, they're putting on their shoes. One is facing here, another one is facing here, but they're telling you, I can do it. And you want to shake them and say, what can you do? What about instead of shaking them, you give them shoes that will help them to put them on easily? Like you start empowering them, you allow them to make choices, but also you listen to them. I learned that when we don't listen to them and take their views, later on we get weak-willed adults who cannot communicate or make adult choices because they were never trained to make choices or to have themselves heard. So they always depend on someone else to make for them decisions because they really never had a moment to say, oh, this is how I feel about the decisions you've made. This is how I feel when you say that I stop using my phone. This is how I feel when you do this. So we are going to say that we are going to leave them. We are going to support their autonomy so that it is positive. It's not seen in a negative way. One is to give them a little freedom. A little freedom from 13, for example, might mean that from today onwards, I'm not going to check your room. Have your room. And remember, with freedom comes responsibility. So if you cannot find your shirt on a Sunday morning, that is up to you. Don't call mom. Don't ask dad. I'm going to give you the freedom. From today, you are going to be doing ABC. But as you give them the freedom to their rooms, they do, like, mean it. Ignore their rooms. You've already parented. At this time, you are training. And this time, you're no longer police, but a judge. A judge just says, oh, you did this? This is it. A police is always policing. Like, did you do this? I'm arresting you. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. You've seen colonial masters. Oh, I'll end your aid. No, we are no longer ending aid. We are saying, oh, you didn't use it for this? I guess there is a consequence here. And let them know their consequences. As you give a little freedom, remember to keep limits. And those limits, be firm on them. If you have said, maybe you have an 18-year-old that is still living with you, and he says, and you say, you know what, from today, I'm not going to monitor your movement. And he goes, and maybe he doesn't have fuel for his car, and then he's struggling, or maybe he drove maybe a distance that was beyond his fuel, and then he begins calling, oh yeah, it's midnight and you're stuck. Yeah, I guess you made a wrong choice, and that's it. So, as I conclude, I want to say that, one, we need to stop overparenting, because overparenting is raising children that cannot make decisions and adults that are broken. Number two, we are giving them freedom, and with freedom comes responsibilities. Let us train them to be responsible. And they say that adolescents help their parents to grow. Let us grow. Sometimes we are parenting our teenagers and our adult children using these principles we used while they were 5 years. So empower yourself. Know that your children are now teenagers and say, what can I do that is going to bring me to their level? Is it reading a book? I was telling you a book, feeding a mouth that bites you. That's parenting, right? There are so many books for every level. So keep yourself up to date so that you don't keep parenting as if they're children, yet they're grown. When we parent, when we support autonomy, that is when we get children that have value systems, like integrity. Oh my God, how I love that word. I've seen communities where integrity is done, and then the rest that is remaining is accepting immoral values in these communities, that you see it even in the hallway. It teaches self-respect, so please don't stop supporting autonomy. It gives self-governance to this child, because then she knows that there are consequences to everything. It brings out authenticity. The children can communicate and say, oh, this is how I feel, but it doesn't take away my values. Just because I'm mad doesn't mean I should punch. I know that I can manage my feelings, but it's okay to feel sad. Control of choices and action is another thing that comes with autonomy. So these are the principles that we are going to be supporting within our children. And always remember, one way is to become a role model. So those are supportive practices that are going to help you build or support autonomy. So do not break your child's autonomy, support it, and then one day they're going to thank you. If you have young ones, you can start early. If your children are already grown, that is okay. You can always start at any age. Just remember that instead of being a superpower and a colonial master that is always finding the evil, or you didn't use money for this, we are now giving freedom. Maybe because it's that time of the month where my country is celebrating freedom. I think most countries, like July is like freedom month and everything. Let us also give a little freedom to our young presidents, our young children, and stop over controlling, over parenting, and try to release, so that we have adults that can make great choices. Let them know that there are consequences. I remember reading a quote, I don't know where I read it, which says that if your family cannot stand you, yet they love you, what about the world that doesn't even love you? So teach your children values that will make them accepted in society. And autonomy is one great component. So support autonomy in your children. Remember not to break it. Thank you to my subscribers that keep coming back. Looking forward to more subscribers. I love you. God bless you. Bye from us.